living abroad will humble you real fast. This video is for you if you want to know exactly how to not feel as an expat. If you're moving abroad and you're interested in living overseas, this is a perfect video. I lived overseas twice in my 20s and I am preparing to go again. Just some things to enlighten you about so that you are not going on a romantic fantasy trip and you're going to literally live and transform your life from the location in every which way that you think, because living overseas is going to expand you beyond ways you cannot even imagine. So I'm so excited for you to begin your expat journey. Stay tuned, and I'm going to share the 4 things that I think you should either look out for, the mindset you should be aware of before you go and when you arrive. So I lived in China from 2014 to 2018. I went as a very curious, open, excitable 24-year-old. So I was young, I had no responsibilities for the most part. The state of mindset and how I was living as a 24-year-old is completely different than how I am living now with a family. So I'm going to share how I felt as an expat. So I feel as an expat not because of the country I chose, but because I believe the fantasy. So I thought and presumed if you have problems, you run away from them. And there is no better way to run away from a problem than to fly and move 8,998 miles away from where the problem is located. This is my young self thinking. Again, I had many reasons to move abroad, many positive reasons. But I thought, and I know a lot of you may be thinking this, I'm just going to run away from my problems to another country. And I'm saying this for many reasons. One being, there's a lot of Americans and a lot of talk online for my people looking to move abroad. Your problems, specifically, if you have student loans, whatever, do not listen to the people who say be irresponsible, because if you have to move back or that country changes their rules and you have to move back here, you're going to be screwed. We're going to pray that doesn't happen. We're optimistic over here, but there are a lot of problems that people use expat life to run away from without addressing them from many areas of life, not just credit, personal, familiar relationships, running away from who knows. I don't know what you're running away from, but if you're running away from something, solve it. I'm just saying. So for me, I thought moving all those miles away no. A lot of times what it does, it magnifies your problems because you're going to still be that person mentally, just in a new location. So we got to keep it real. Everyone's romanticizing living overseas. Babes, there are some things and some reasons why I feel it as an expat that I want to warn you about, and it's not all just to scare you and gloom and gloom. I am not a fearmonger at all. I want you to be prepared, and I want you to have the mental capacity to know what you're signing up for, because I know the benefits of moving overseas, but I want to keep it real as someone who's done it in her 20s twice. So let's go. Let's get started. All right, so first things first, and I wrote my notes. And all right, I think you should try the country before you commit. This is my 2 cents, because a lot of us will fall in love with the vacation version of a place. You stand at the hotel, you're eating out, you're dealing with everyone that's in hospitality whose literal job is to make sure that they're being hospitable and you're having a lovely time. The vacation version of a place is not how that location is going to be if and when you move there. It's just the honest truth. Living there means bureaucracy, loneliness. You have to deal with like real everyday life just in another country. Banking systems, stores, grocery stores, getting your medicine, making sure you have health care, making sure you are staying within the lines of the visa limits. There are a ton of things you're gonna have to do as an expat versus a vacationer. So I suggest if you're gonna move to another country, try before you buy, you know what I'm saying? Get a little taste of it. So yes, you can go there on vacation and stay at a hotel for a couple days, but then you need to be looking into getting an Airbnb or that country's version of Airbnb to stay in actual neighborhoods that may be of interest to you. Also, read blog posts. I know we live in a day and age where everyone wants to hear audio and video, but blog posts are the real goats. Read a blog post, read blog posts, blogs, whatever, because the bloggers, they get nitty gritty. They have links. Oh my God, so much information. Like, bring back blogs. I don't even know they left, but if you're not reading them, you get back to them. Blogs are where it's at. That's where all the information is. Also, that short-term stay will expose friction. Like, how good is this town's Wi-Fi? How good is this building's hot water heater? Like, you know, just different things. I remember we lived in Foshan. We lived on the 63rd floor, super high up. Yes, I know it's crazy in China. Babes, one day, one of the balcony, we had 2 balconies, the glass door broke because the building shook. Like, come again, say what? Like, no. But some things you can't help until you live there, of course. Some things you won't know until you live there, of course. But just try it out. It's like try before you buy, especially making such a big commitment, because romantic attraction is not resilient. So keep that in the forefront of your mind, because we can get into our romantic bag and forget reality. All right, so my second reason I think I failed as an expat was because I went with a job. That's how I was able to get my visa and to live there legally, which do not go anywhere listening to anybody about overstaying your visa. I think that's very inconsiderate of the locals. And if someone came into the United States breaking the rules, well, we see what happens. And I don't think we should be going with our elitist attitude to other people's countries thinking we can just break their rules. They handle stuff differently, and you may want to tread lightly, because oftentimes I've heard some horror stories, even some people that I actually know. So tread lightly. But a job is not security. Currency is. Let's get that into our mind. A job is not security. Currency is. If you go to that country making what the locals make, or even what they pay you as a foreigner, you are still limited by that country's currency. And if you are coming from the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, whatever you want to say about our country, they have stronger currencies. So I highly suggest you, as someone interested in living abroad, I highly suggest you have job security with making USD or whatever your country. Yes, go with the job if you can, but just remember, local currencies also create limitations. But local currencies often trap you in local limitations. So having your US based income gives you leverage, exit options, okay? And dignity if things go left. Because you got your coins, they're coming in, you're good to go. No one can dangle that over your head. Because there was a time where pay didn't always come through, because how they operate is not how the US operates. Yes, pay was held from a company at once before that I worked at overseas, because of whatever reason they decided was legitimate. But baby, it's the Friday, it's the 10th, I'm supposed to get paid. I don't care what you got going on in your business. That's not how everyone works. There is little to no protection, and the structure is built differently. You just don't say you're gonna sue somebody overseas like you would here. So just be mindful. Everything doesn't work the same way overseas. So you get your USD online, however you need to make it, so you can just leave with some dignity. Because a lot of reason people quietly move back is because expat failure is not always cultural. A lot of times it's financial, straight up. You had to go back home from that quote unquote cheap country that you talked about. The country isn't cheap. You're limited if you are making their currency. Also, don't be talking about these countries calling them cheap. All right, so the third reason why I think I failed as an expat, and to warn you, is that culture shock may not hit you first, but your identity loss definitely will hit you first. Why? Because you're going somewhere new. You automatically not fluent in the language. Even if you study, like the dialect could be different. I'm talking about majority of the people. So boom, you don't even know what they're talking about. No one warns you that your confidence disappears before your excitement does. Fluency. I talked about that in another video. Baby, I didn't know what those people were saying. Suddenly, you're not fluent. You're not competent. You're not understood. And you're not you. Now, so a lot of us, especially if you're an introvert, that sounds like a dream come true. But if you're not, that's a confidence killer. Just being honest. Also, if your identity is tied to productivity, status, or ease, living abroad will humble you real fast. This is where a lot of people quit. This is also where a lot of people are born, and their 2.0 version of themselves are born. So it just depends on where you are, and you could really lose who you are, especially if who you are is tied to productivity, ease, hustle, whatever combination you may have. But what people don't realize is culture shock isn't just, and what I wanted to say before that, but this before that, culture shock isn't only just the food, the smells, the customs, and the language barrier. Culture shock goes a little bit deeper. And I don't know if you understand this, so hopefully if you're interested in moving abroad, this will help you out kind of understand what culture shock really is and what you're asking for and what you're gonna get when you move to a country that's completely different from the one you came from. So it feels like you can't explain yourself clearly. I remember I gave a taxi driver a card for my school, which is where I lived. We lived on campus, and he was like, "Get that out of here. Like, what's the name of your school?" So I don't know if he couldn't read, simplify, because it was written in characters. It wasn't written in pinyin. And thank God my contact teacher had written on the paper the pinyin, which I can read the pinyin. I can't read characters. So I was able to say where I lived. So I could literally get there. That's culture shock. What you mean you can't read? You're thinking like obviously, but that's not the same everywhere. You don't know who these people are and their, like how they choose a cab driver. And that's not his job to read. His job was to drive. And so no disrespect at all. It was just a culture shock. It's just what it is. Also, culture shock, your jokes don't land. So say for instance, like people just don't understand Germans because they say Germans have dry humor. I'm not gonna speak about Germans, but say for instance, you come from where you come from and people just don't know the jokes. A lot of jokes you think are funny are cultural, and that's a different culture. So boom, you feel like, dang, like, yeah, tough crowd. No, they don't understand. They don't know what you're talking about. And then it's like you're suddenly bad at basic things. Like, I don't know, navigating the MTR. I don't come from a place where riding the train was like an everyday thing. Like if you're from New York, DC has a really good train system. But I'm from Atlanta. Our train system go north, south, east, west. It's not very good unless you're going like downtown to see a concert or a game. Other than that, so I didn't have much experience with train riding. Well, in other places, the train is how you get around. So it's like, I can't even navigate how to, it's not that I couldn't navigate it. It was just more difficult than what it should have been because I just wasn't experienced. It was just different. Even in, oh my God, what country is that where like everyone rides bikes? I would look so stupid if I just went there. Not that I don't know how to ride a bike, but like efficiently to get to work and school and all the places, everyone's riding bikes on the street. And I'm pretty sure that's great for the environment and things like that. But it would just be a culture shock when simple things, seemingly simple things, are now hard or difficult to do. And this is especially dangerous if you are a high capacity person, because a lot of times your identity is intertwined with what it is you're capable of doing. You're used to being capable, you're used to being respected, and then boom, you land up in another country. Not only are you a nobody, you don't know what's going on, you're not being understood. Basically, you get humbled real fast is what I'm trying to say. You can't move fast, you can't fix things easily. Like, if you had an issue with, say, boom, you had a wardrobe malfunction, you have a seamstress where you're from to fix it immediately. How would you find that a seamstress in a far off country, in a far off land? You wouldn't have the same resources. So people don't leave because they hate the country. They leave because they lost themselves in the country. Like, who am I? Who am I? Just guys wanna touch my When your identity starts eroding and disappearing and looking like something foreign to you, guess what motivation goes next? And if you get trapped up in this cycle, or if you're in an echo chamber of other expats who feel the same way, all y'all gonna leave at the same time and have this kind of negative experience about your time in that country. This doesn't mean living abroad is wrong. It just means you need anchors. If you want to be successful living abroad, this is some anchors you could use. So you need work that reminds you of your purpose and your capacity. It needs to be able to remind you that you're competent, most importantly. You need income, back to number 2, that gives you choice. If you do not want to fail as an expat, I don't know, I was gonna call this video I failed as an expat, but I'm gonna edit that out. I wanna say how to not fail as an expat from an expat, previous expat, something like that. This last anchor is gonna also take us into the 4th reason of why and how to not fail as an expat. And that is, you need 1 or 2 people who see the real you. You need those people to be there. It's easy to have your home friends and family, but they don't know what's going on over there. So I highly suggest number 4 is the community aspect. The community aspect of being an expat. The community aspect of being an expat. Community matters way more than aesthetics. Yes, you can get online with your pretty pictures, your super edited, color graded videos, looking good, looking fly, but being lonely is the worst part of being an expat, and it's a reason why a lot of people leave way sooner than they had ever anticipated. Even if their home life wasn't good, it's still what's familiar to them. You can love the food, you can love the architecture, you can love the language, you can love the lifestyle and still fail as an expat if you don't find a community. Now, some people will have people visiting them from home month after month. And let me just tell you, you are so lucky. You are so blessed to have people who want to come see you from home. But for most people, that's not always an option. So I highly suggest you prioritize joining communities. And if you're an introvert, you're going to have to put yourself out there, even though you may not want to avoid being lonely, because the mental health aspect of being an expat is often overlooked. There are a lot of people who move overseas and it looks good online, but they're lonely and they're sad and they're depressed because they have not invested into the community aspect of their living situation, which is overseas. What keeps people abroad long term is one person, one community that supports them, that sees them, that knows who they are. These communities are found on Facebook. Look no further than Facebook. If you need to go further and you can't find them on Facebook, YouTube. Be very explicit when you're searching for these groups. Find them before you even leave. They have a wealth of information. But if you don't have a Facebook, the next best thing to go to would be YouTube and blog posts. But the Facebook groups, they're going to tell you how to get an apartment. They're going to tell you the scammers if you need to look out for anything, the scams if you need to look out for anything. They're going to tell you everything you need to know, from banking to visas to current updates. The Facebook groups, do not overlook the Facebook groups, okay, for community. Now, when you get there, for example, in China, we use an app called Weixin, which is WeChat, which is their like communications app. But you need to know people there to talk to them. And so before you get there, utilize Facebook groups, because you need that community to be you're gonna need that community to kind of be your stable foundation. And once you join a community, get active in it. Don't just be a watcher looking from the back and getting all the information. Be a contributor. Ask questions, answer questions. It's beautiful. Everyone is looking for a way to enjoy life more. And if you feel that living in a different country is going to fulfill the curiosity that you have and get your fulfillment that you're going for, that I always talk about, if you feel that living overseas is going to fulfill that curiosity that you have, you can't shake off, I highly suggest making community a priority. One, the first way of how not to fail, yes, try before you buy. Try the country or the place out before you move there. 2, a job is not security, currency is. Get you some coins online and have yourself established financially. Don't go there and then be limited by the local. Don't go there only making local currency and then you have local limitations. 3, culture shock doesn't hit first. Identity loss does, okay? You have to ground yourself and know that who you are is not going to sustain who you were, and where you're from is not going to always translate into where you are. And that's okay. It's okay. But your confidence shouldn't be wrapped too much into that anyways, because then you were operating through ego, and we'll talk about that in another video. And then 4, community matters more than an aesthetic. So make sure you join a community. You're not just, you're there learning, you're there growing, and then you're also there sharing your experience. Because the beautiful thing about all of us, and a lot of times we may feel like we're in an echo chamber. Everybody, for one, does not want to live abroad. You may probably be in an echo chamber because you've created your algorithms to just show you that, but everyone does not want to live abroad. And so we're not going to preach and try to push other people to come with us. What we're going to do is find the communities that we belong in, learn from them, and then have the experience so that we can then become the teachers. When we create our social media algorithms and we say we build them brick by brick, yeah, you're living in an echo chamber and everyone around you does not want the same thing, but you just created your algorithm to reflect the things you want, because that's like literally the purpose. So join the communities. Be mindful of the 4 things that we talked about, I shared with you today in this video, and I think that will help a lot. I think this will help a lot of people on their journey to living overseas. Again, my name is The Spivey. Thank you so much for being here today with me on YouTube. I would truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, the like and share button. My name is The Spivey J. Have a beautiful day. Peace.
You're beautiful. I hope you know that. I hope you know that.
I cannot wait to find out where you're moving to. Where you moving to? How long you plan to be there? And are you making some USD